And in the previous khutbah, we spoke about the importance of knowing about Dajjal, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stressed this knowledge, so much so that he added it as a dua at the end of our daily prayers. And the Sahaba said that he used to teach us this dua the way that he taught a verse from the Quran. Meaning that this is not something minor, insignificant, in passing. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it. This is something he stressed. And as we said in the previous khutbah, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said that it would be the most difficult, the most horrendous trial that humankind would face from the time of the creation of Adam until the end of the world. So we looked at who this individual was. And we clarified in those descriptions given by the Prophet ﷺ that Ad-Dajjal was a man, was an individual. And he cannot be reinterpreted as some have done today. You can find on the internet those who claim that Ad-Dajjal is the United Kingdom, Britain, as the Protestants back in the 15th century claimed that Ad-Dajjal was the Pope, the head of the Catholics. Ad-Dajjal is a particular human being. At least the Christians got it right. He was a man. May have been the wrong man, but at least they had it clear that it was a man. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, after describing the features of his face, his neck, his build, how he would walk, all of these different things, he went on to say that there is a particular individual amongst them by the name of Abdul Uzza ibn Qatan, who was from, what he identified from the Mustalaq clan of the Khuza'a tribe in pre-Islamic times. He was known to the people. That's who Dajjal most looks like. And in his own time, in Medina, there was an individual by the name of Ibn Sayyad, a man, Ibn Sayyad. Word spread in Medina that he was able to read people's minds. This is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. He was able to read people's minds. And the Prophet ﷺ set off with Umar ibn al-Khattab to go and meet him. And he asked him to read what was in his mind. And he said, Ad-Dukh, Ad-Dukh. Prophet ﷺ had in his mind Ad-Dukhan. He got a piece of it, indicating that he was obviously working with what we might call supernatural forces. But we know those supernatural forces are the forces of the jinn. And when the Prophet ﷺ from that confirmed that he wasn't in fact Dajjal, but the suspicion lay in the mind of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Umar asked permission to go and kill him. And the Prophet ﷺ had said, If he was a Dajjal, you wouldn't be able to kill him. And if he wasn't, then I would be known as killing my followers, because he was among the people of Medina who was supposed to have been a Muslim, or killing the people of Medina. Again, this was a human being. The Prophet ﷺ confirmed that he wasn't in fact a Dajjal. If a Dajjal was not a person, then this would not have been an issue talked about at all. After this, one of the companions by the name of Tamim ad-Dari, who was a former Christian who converted to Islam, who had set off on a ship with other companions to the east, the Far East. And the ship became shipwrecked on an island. And he had an experience there on the island. When he came back, they eventually were able to repair their ship, and they came back to Medina. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and he told him what he experienced there on this island. And the Prophet ﷺ had an announcement made in Medina in which he called the people to the masjid. And after he finished praying, he stood up before them and he introduced them to Tamim ad-Dari. Told them about him and had him relate his experience. This is authentic tradition of the Prophet ﷺ. He goes on to explain, this is found in Sahih Muslim, that they had gone into the island after they were shipwrecked, and they came across a beast that was covered in hair, and they couldn't determine from the hairiness of the beast which was its head and which was its backside. Couldn't figure it out. They looked the same. That's how it was described. And it spoke to them. They spoke to it. It identified itself as Al-Jassas. And it told them about someone in a monastery that is waiting for them. So they went, taking all the precautions, assuming that this is something devilish, evil. They came into the monastery and they found there a man who met the description that the Prophet ﷺ gave of a Dajjal. And he was chained, arms chained to his neck, feet shackled. And he asked them questions. They answered, explaining who they were, where they came from, etc. And in the end, when they asked him, so who are you? He said, I am a Dajjal. And a time will come, not too long from now, when I will be free. Now Tamim ad-Dari hadn't heard the description that the Prophet ﷺ had given of Dajjal. This is why the Prophet ﷺ brought him. He was a convert to Islam. He hadn't heard these descriptions. So he had him say to them what they saw, what they experienced. Because this was confirmation to the people. Not that anybody would disbelieve Prophet Muhammad ﷺ anyway. Right? But it was just further confirmation of Dajjal and the information that he is already present in the world.